Hey everybody, it's me, Shaw360. So, this is a story time kind of deal. Well, not really a story time because it's actually a fairly short story, but I figured I'd tell it anyway because, yeah, what have I got to lose? So, if you follow me on Twitter, you might have seen a tweet that I posted on Sunday night talking about this. But if you don't follow me on Twitter, which a lot of you do not, let me tell you about my Sunday night. So, Mason is coming to visit me here in Colorado. I'm super excited about it. Mason is somebody who I've known for a few years now. I've only ever met him once in person when we went to the K-pop or the Korean Times Music Festival. And we saw Red Velvet there, NCT, I saw Rain, he saw EXID. Like, it was a great time. But he lives in LA and I live not in LA. So to see him, it requires a plane trip. So needless to say, we don't get together very often. So in anticipation of Mason coming to visit me, I'm like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to vacuum the floors in my living room because everybody appreciates a freshly vacuumed floor. Even if people don't notice it, they notice when it's not vacuumed. So, you do it. Anywhoots, I happen to have a wax melt warmer, and I'm think a lot of you don't know what that is. So, you know how like you buy a candle and it has the little wicks in it that you light with a lighter and then they burn and it melts the candle wax so it's liquidy and fragrant. Well, a wax melter, it has like a little bowl that you put a block of wax on that has no wick, and it warms up the wax so it does the same thing a candle does but with no flame. And so I happen to have one of those plugged into the same outlet that I had my vacuum cleaner plugged into. And yeah, I tripped over that cord and I sent wax flying across my living room. And when I tell you it looked like a bloody crime scene, it looked like I had hit someone in the neck with a hatchet. There's red wax all over the blinds, all over the wall, all over the carpet, all over the couch that's underneath the fireplace, like just everywhere. There's still wax everywhere, honestly. No, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. This is my stupidity. Had nothing to do with you. There's still wax everywhere, by the way. Like, there's still wax on the carpet because I just gave up on life after 2 hours of cleaning it off the walls. There's still wax on the blinds, which I'm just gonna buy new blinds. I'm not doing it anytime soon, but like, yeah, probably next month I'll buy new blinds. But like, it's bright red wax, which is why it looks like a crime scene in here, because it's bright red and it's terrifying. I'm not getting my deposit back when I move out of here, and I'm so upset because I've been doing so good otherwise. But yeah, I wanted to tell that story because what is life without terribly embarrassing stories to tell to people? Outside of that, though, life is good. This has been a great day for people who enjoy K-pop because we had Hwasa's new album come out. We had Sunmi's single come out. We've had a few more things come out that my mind's not going where it needs to go. There's a whole bunch of things that are on the horizon to come out. A lot of new things to buy if you're a girl group fan, because there's the single for Blackpink's song, How You Like That. There's the single for Chungha's song, Play. There's, of course, the announcement of the packaging for the Red Velvet subunit, Monster, which I have to say, I agree with Mason. It is a shame that they did such great artwork for the new the new Red Velvet album, and it is yay big. Like, I don't know if any of you ever look at the dimensions. A lot of people don't. I don't blame you. I don't look at them sometimes too. But whenever they announce that new albums are coming out, if you're on Twitter or if you're on Facebook or whatever social media source you use, a lot of times the company will release the specs of the new album. So they'll be like, it comes in a box and it comes with a jewel case and it has a 200-page book and it's got a photo card and a postcard and a keychain and a this, that, the other. All that is usually put in the description of the release, right? Well, with Red Velvet, it looks super classy. It's two different versions. One is the top note version, one is the middle note version. The top note version is the one that looks like lesbian vampires, and everyone wants it. It's gorgeous. It comes with two different poster options. It's very black and white. It definitely gives you automatic vibes. But if you look at the dimensions of the packaging, that's when you realize this bitch is the size of a jewel case. We're basically looking at like the same size as Really Bad Boy, Perfect Velvet, that size. And it's just really terrible because it is such beautiful, beautiful photography. I mean, I haven't thought about buying a poster for a K-pop group in a really long time because I don't really put up posters in my house like that. I've got 3 posters up in my living room, and I got a couple of framed things. But yeah, I don't really put up posters like that. But this was one of those times where I'm like, you know what? This would be really nice to have because this is very artistic. But yeah, I don't understand why Red Velvet gets the smallest packaging that SM has to offer. Like, when you think about it, it's actually bizarre when you look at everything else that's coming out. Like, if you look at NCT's discography, I don't think they have any jewel cases. Am I wrong? Does NCT or NCT Dream have any jewel case sized packaging? Leave the comment, because I don't think so. And then I'm thinking about, like, SHINee has some jewel cases, true enough. I know Super Junior has a couple of jewel cases, but it's been a minute. I want to say the packaging for SPY was jewel case sized, but that's the last time I recall them doing jewel cases. I know that Cherry Bomb and Fire Truck were bigger than jewel case because I have those. Those were like the booklets, but they weren't jewel case. They were like a little bit bigger. But yeah, besides SHINee besides SHINee, I think Red Velvet is the only other group that gets jewel cases, and they have more jewel cases than anybody else. Any of the currently producing acts, I think Red Velvet has the smallest albums, the most jewel cases. And it doesn't make sense to me because they spend so much money on costuming for Red Velvet. Like, when you look at Red Velvet's clothes, they always spend a lot of money on the clothes. There's always a lot of detail in the clothes. And they still give them the smallest packaging they can do. Even if you look at the Reva Festival, as much as going on in the Reva Festival and like all the little knickknacks and doodads and bebops and all the stuff that goes on the cover of it, them bitches are about this big. Like, the biggest one is about this big. I don't understand it. I don't understand it. Like, why does SM hate them? Why don't they at least get book packaging? They have bigger packaging in Japan than they have in Korea. Because I have the limited edition version of Sappy, and it's like book size, which that's always lovely. But then I have all of their latest Korean releases. I don't have anything book size for Red Velvet. Not a single thing. I'm looking at my Red Velvet shelf right now, and the biggest albums I have for Red Velvet are the Rookie album. And I have 2 copies. I have a cover with Irene and a cover for Seulgi. Meanwhile, NCT, there was like 3 versions of their last release. There's like Final Round, Neo Zone, A, B, and then like C, I guess. One of those Neo Zones was the size of a fucking magazine. Like, I really would like to know, why is their packaging so small? And like, it's not even just because they're girls, because Taeyeon's packaging has been magazine sized. So I can't even say, oh, it's just because they're girls, so it's a sexism thing. I don't think so, because BoA's packaging has been bigger recently. Taeyeon's packaging has been bigger recently. What is the deal with Red Velvet getting the smallest packaging at SM? Like, that's something that the fans really need to be, like, digging into SM's ass about. That makes no sense. And when you think about, like, all the different concepts they have, that's a real tragedy. Because there are some concepts that Red Velvet have had that would be lovely to have in a larger size. Like, I'm thinking, just even recently, like, all the concept art and all the photographs for Psycho, those would be so nice to have in a book version. I'm thinking of all of the Bad Boy art, how that would have been lovely to have. Peekaboo would have been really good to have book size. Like, yeah, what is the deal with that? And like, even compared to other girl groups that are their same age, like, you look at Twice, you look at even Blackpink. Like, Blackpink's the square one, that was a little bit smaller, but then everything else is bigger. I don't know what I don't know what that is. That feels like a conspiracy theory. It really does. I mean, I'd like to know why that is. And I mean, I could chalk it up to one thing. This is the only thing I can think of. SM makes small packaging for Red Velvet because they don't think that Red Velvet can sell physically. That's all I can think of. That they're like, let's not waste a lot of money here. Red Velvet is a digital group, so we don't need to spend time on their packaging. Because like Red Velvet doesn't get a lot of versions either. Like if you look at their discography, Summer Magic and Rookie and the first 2 days of the Reva Festival are the most versions of albums they've had. So like Summer Magic had a regular version and then it had group covers. Then Rookie had group covers. The day 1 had member versions, and then day 2 had random member versions that you wouldn't find out until you opened the packaging. And then they both came with a regular. And then the finale of the Reva Festival had a green, a pink, and a regular. So yeah, Red Velvet doesn't even get like a ton of versions of their albums like some of the other acts at SM do. Perfect Velvet, the first album, only had one version. The repackage only had one version. The Red album only had one version. One of These Nights only had one version. I think that there might be multiple versions of Red Flavor, or like maybe 2 or 3 covers, but I don't know. My mind's not really recalling if that had multiple covers. Ice Cream Cake had 2 covers. That's weird, man. That's just... I never really even thought about it until we had this conversation right here. But that's bizarre. Because when I think about the other acts on SM, almost every act has multiple versions of their covers, except for maybe some of the solos. SM, why are you like this? What have you got against Red Velvet? They're literally the only thing keeping your girl group department going. Because OGG is not performing like that. Taeyeon, people don't think of her as like a girl group member. They think of her as a solo mostly. So like, what is it that you have against Red Velvet? What did they ever do to you? All they do is sell merch and try to stay as unproblematic as possible. So what do you hate about them? Now I'm all frustrated. But, that's neither here nor there. Monster's going to have 2 versions, a top note and a middle note, which, I think of the 2, the top note version is a little bit stronger than the middle note. Not saying, just saying. The top note can get it. The middle note is okay. The song snippets I've heard have been all right. I'd like to hear more of the song. I hope that the path that they go with for Red Velvet subunit is wildly different than the path that Red Velvet as a team goes. So this is what I've done recently. I put a bunch of Red Velvet albums on a USB in my vehicle, right? And I took the Red Velvet songs and I put them in alphabetical order, and I started playing them in alphabetical order, not based on what album they are, just alphabetical order. And as I was playing them in alphabetical order, I realized like it is like Russian roulette listening to Red Velvet. I know they have a song, Russian Roulette. Oh yeah, another one that only had one version. But anyway, as I'm listening to it, I'm just like, wow, I never realized how wildly different every single song that Red Velvet has is. And not just wildly different from album to album, track to track, on album to album, but like even in the middle of the song, the choruses are wildly different from the verses. And there's just no consistency in anything that Red Velvet does. Now, I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, because that's really one of the things I like about Red Velvet. It's one of the things I like about SHINee is that the core of the group is easily identifiable, but they're not afraid to like bust out in genres. But with this subunit, I hope it's a more cohesive project. Like, I hope that the songs sound like they go together, if that makes any sense. Like, that's one of the things that I've noticed about like SM solos Have you guys noticed this? Like, SM group projects are like, boom! Everything is everywhere, confetti, graffiti, whatever. It's all over the place. But when you get an SM solo, it tends to be more direction driven. And I'm really, really hoping that that's what happens with this Seulgi Irene project. Even if it's not necessarily the direction I would want them to go, I just hope it has a more narrow focus. Like when I think about Taemin's albums, I mean musically, when I think about Taemin's albums, if I listen to Ace from front to back, there's quite a bit of variation between songs, but it's a mini. Then when you move on to Press It, there's variation, but it's still thematically a lot of similarities. The further you get in Taemin's catalog, the more the albums kind of start to have like one very definitive musical direction, and all of the songs feel super related. I feel like it's the same thing with Baekhyun. Like when you listen to Baekhyun's City Lights, it's very, very closely related. But when you listen to Delight, it sounds like the whole theme of that album is R&B singer. So I don't know. I really hope that it kind of stays in one lane. You know, I don't want it to be boring. That's not what I'm looking for. I just want it to be kind of like, I want it to be a mood album. Because you know, like you have some albums that you put on when you're in a mood. And for me, Red Velvet doesn't have those kind of albums for me. Like, there's never an album that Red Velvet has had where I'm like, I'm in a lazy mood, or I'm in a romantic mood, or I'm in a chill vibe mood, and I'll put on this album for that mood. I find that I do that a lot more with Western music and like K-R&B than I do with K-pop, because it's just all over the place. So a lot of times with K-pop, I find myself picking and choosing tracks. Or if I'm just like driving and I don't want to think about what I'm listening to, I can put on these very random albums and play them over and over, track for track, and not really have to think about it. But when I'm in a mood, that's when I like to choose an album that fits my mood, because I want to stay in that mood. I don't want to fiddle with, you know, bouncing from track to track to make it match my mood. And so that I want to enter a mood with Seulgi and Irene. I want them to set the mood with me. So I don't know. This was a fun talk. I wasn't anticipating having this talk about Red Velvet, but this was fun. I'm glad we did this. This was a good time. I enjoyed it. So I put together another bookshelf because I'm just so out of room. It's not even funny. It looks terrible over there because I don't have any room for anything. And my bookshelf that I put all of my not BTS, not SHINee, not Red Velvet stuff on, even though my Red Velvet cubby is so small. It's really tiny. It's like, it's not a big cubby. But anyway, the bookshelf where I put like Girls' Generation, Rain, EXO, ATEEZ, all that stuff, it is double tiered right now. Like it is front and back and stacked up. And I need to put some of that stuff on my new bookshelf. But my new bookshelf is small. It's like half the size of one of my bigger bookshelves. And I'm not sure what I want to do with that, you know? I've been thinking maybe I will take all of my merch stuff and put it on that bookshelf, because I have a few merch items. I do. I'm looking over here now and I can see the few merch items I have. And I'm thinking that maybe this new bookshelf, I'll take all of the merch items off of the old bookshelves and put them on this bookshelf, and that'll be where they are. That way the other bookshelves are only for albums. But you know, this is nothing we're going to talk about here because it needs to be said. Shelf envy is so fucking real, and like every time I think I'm satisfied with my shelf, I'll watch somebody's video about their shelf and I will just feel like the biggest freaking loser. Prime example. So I don't think I've left a comment on her video. I meant to, but I don't think I knew what to write, so I didn't. But Alondra did a shelf tour of her K-R&B shelves, and it was just like, what am I doing with my life? Why am I not doing the things that other people who I'm friendly with have done? Why am I the least prosperous person in my friend group? Because she had like these portrait holders for her LPs, so like they were They were held up on little easels, and she had LED lights on some of the shelves so that the mood lighting was right for that particular artist. And she had little pictures pinned up. She's like, this is the Dean corner, and I have pictures of Dean here, and a little Dean emblem and a button. And I'm just like, I mean, I have some shiny shelves, but I didn't decorate the shelf. I just put the shit in the shelf. Why am I not taking the time to do this? Like, she's got at least 5 miniature shrines on her K-pop shelves. I don't have any. And I want to do all these things. I want to make things fancy, but like, as a working adult who works a job that they kind of hate and is really exhausted when they come home, I just don't have the inspiration to like sit up and post little LED lights and all those things. So, because I don't have time to do that with all of my shelves, that's why I was thinking that this new bookshelf, since it's completely empty right now, there's nothing on it, that this would be where I will make something fancy. This will be where I will do something really super lovely. And I don't know what to do. I'm looking at it now. It's a black bookshelf. It's got 3 shelves. It's the standard size. But what to do with this shelf? I don't know. And that's why I was thinking, well, okay, what is something that I could do for this shelf to make it really pretty, something I could put on the gram, but something that doesn't have to change very often? Because that's the other thing too, like, this might not be a problem for some of you. And this is not me trying to sound super entitled. I'm not trying to throw wealth in anybody's face. I'm just giving you the realities of my current situation. With my shelves over there, they are stuffed to the gills. I hardly have any room to put anything else in there without like triple layering stuff, right? And I'm still ordering stuff all the time. So like there's still going to be more albums that have to go there. I'm still going to have to do more stuff with the space that I have. But I've kind of gotten away from buying a ton of merch. Like there was a time when I bought like BTS pillows, BTS Koya, BTS minifigures, BTS Barbie dolls, BTS buses. I have a backpack full of enamel pins. I've got a bunch of shiny light sticks. I got all this stuff that's like merch stuff, right? But I've really moved away from doing merch buying. I buy a couple of very special things, but I don't buy a ton of merch like I used to. And so my merch collection isn't really growing the way my CD collection still is growing. So that's why I was thinking, if I do this new shelf and I decorate this new shelf, it can probably stay decorated for a while because it's not going to change all the time. Whereas my CD shelves, every few months, I kind of got to go in there and start rearranging stuff because I just don't have any space to put anything. When IKEA opens back up, I hope to get another set of bookshelves from them because IKEA really does have my favorite bookshelf in the entire world. But yeah, like, give me your insights on that. I was like, either it needs to be merch or it needs to be a place where I put the collections of my favorite disbanded groups. So like, it would be the set of shelves where I only have 2NE1, Sistar, In Black. That would be because the disbanded groups aren't going to really change. They're going to stay the same because they're not releasing any new stuff. So give me your ideas. Give me your input on what you think I should do. But yeah, shelf envy. People never talk about that, but it really does make you feel down. And it's so bizarre because when I look at other people's shelves, I'm never looking at their shelves thinking, man, I wish I had that album. No. I'm always looking at their shelves thinking, man, I wish I had their organizational talents. Or, man, that is such a really neat thing they did with their color scheme. Or, oh my gosh, that was such a smart idea, the way that they lined that up. And yeah, I keep thinking to myself, like, I want beautiful shelves. I want shelves that look great. Speaking of Marie Kondo, I thought about doing that with my K-pop collection. I thought about pulling up stuff and being like, does this give me joy? This is the problem though. Almost every single fucking thing I have gives me joy. Like, that's the reason I bought it, because it gives me joy. So like, there's some stuff that I recently redid my shelves because, like I said, they were a mess. Things were piling up. It was gross. I went through my non-BTS, non-shiny shelf to like move things around, everything else. As I was doing it, as I was putting stuff away and putting things up and, trying to restack and everything else, there were so many items I picked up that I had not touched in months. And touching them, I was like, oh my gosh, I remember when I bought this. Oh my gosh, I wonder what happened to this person. Oh my gosh, I wonder. Like, it was a trip down memory lane. I felt amazing redoing that shelf. Everything I touched, I was like, oh my gosh, I remember when I did that video about me getting this thing. And I really do love K-pop collecting. Like, people don't understand. I've talked about the adrenaline rush you get with collecting. I've talked about the highs and the lows that you have from collecting and how it can become an addiction. I've talked about that, and it really can. There is something incredibly satisfying about setting a goal and filling out the slots to fulfill that goal, because so many things in life are unpredictable. So many things in life seem so much harder to do than others. Like, on your job, for most people, you'll hardly ever get to like the biggest goal at your job. So you just take it a day at a time. But in K-pop collecting, you could sit down with a piece of paper, write a list, and actually do that shit. Like, you could be like, okay, as a K-pop collector, I want to get every single album that NCT released in Korea, and I want to get every single version of that album they released in Korea. And I'm going to collect only the photo cards of, Taeil for every single album. But for this particular release, I'm going to collect at least one photo card from every member. Like, it's a goal that not only can you write down, but you can absolutely do. It might take you a little time. It might mean that you have to make less trips to Taco Bell, but you can absolutely do it. And that is one of the most addictive parts of collecting K-pop, is that it's so easy not only to set these goals and start working on these goals and feeling a sense of achievement as you are actively making advances in your set of goals, but to also start new sets of goals and be like, okay, now that I have gotten all of my shiny Korean albums, I'm going to get all of their Japanese albums. Now that I've got all their Japanese albums, I'm going to work on getting all of their official tour CDs. Now that I've got all their tour CDs, I'm going to work on getting their official Lightstick collection. Like, it just gets out of hand. And so it was a thing where, when I took a break from collecting for that year or so, I really had to face some hard truths about, like, not only what I was collecting, how I was collecting, how collecting made me feel, how I felt without collecting, but also, like, is this addiction? Am I actually dealing with an addiction? And I had to give myself the honest truth that, yeah, it is an addiction. It absolutely is an addiction. And I still have moments when I'm buying where I have to just tell myself, you don't need this. Like, I have to say it out loud. You don't need this. Recently, I was on K-Pop Town's website. I ordered some stuff from K-Pop Town, some K-R&B stuff, and let's see, what did I order? I think I've already told you guys what I ordered. It was a PH1, the NAFLA album, the Lila Mars album, Wood's album, and something else which I cannot recall. Also, let's talk about Wood's video in a minute. Something else who I cannot recall at this very moment, but I ordered some things, right? I went back on their website because I was really thinking about getting the new Red Velvet album. But I had told all of my friends in my group chat that I wasn't going to do it. No, I didn't get BY's album. Why would I buy that? I'm sorry. I don't buy contemporary Christian music, so no, I'm not buying BY's album. I went on the website thinking about buying Red Velvet's album, which I don't know why, because I told everybody in my friend group, in my group chat, I'm not buying that album new. I'm going to buy it used. The reason I said I was going to buy it used is because I don't collect every single version of Red Velvet stuff, and I don't even actively collect Red Velvet cards. There was a time in my life where I was going to start collecting Seulgi's cards, but then I gave up because there's so many cards and they're kind of expensive, so I was like, no, I'm not in the mood. I'm not collecting Soulby's cards. Sorry. But I saw the pictures for Top Note, and I'm like, I might want to get this brand new. I might want to get this brand new. And I had to tell myself, not just mentally, out loud, you don't need this. You don't need this. And after I said that, I text Mason, and I'm like, Mason, I need you to tell me you don't need this. This is what Mason writes back. I'm just going to read it out loud because I want you to understand how devastating this response was to me, because like I'm totally trying as hard as I can to be a good girl. So I tell him, where is it? I have to look for the box. I say, please tell me not to pre-order the Red Velvet subunit. He goes, don't pre-order it, but I am weekended. Do you know how devastating that is? When the person who's supposed to be your support team, when the person who's supposed to be your sponsor in your addiction is like, yeah, don't do that, but I totally did that. And it's like, this is not helping me. This is not helping me. You can't tell me not to do something that you are actively doing. We can't both be off the wagon. So it was like, so maybe it is okay just to take a little sniff. Maybe it's okay. I haven't done it though. I haven't done it. I have not done it. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to buy it used. I don't need the photo card. I don't even need the postcard. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to wait and get it used. But God, do I want it so bad. Do I want it so bad? I want it so bad. Same thing with Wassa. I really, really want Maria. I really, really do. But I haven't bought a Mamamoo album in probably 2 years. And so I'm like, you haven't bought anything Mamamoo related in 2 years. Do you really need to buy Maria? Do you really need to buy it? And I'm like, okay, no, you don't need it. You don't need it. Meanwhile, on my timeline, I can't wait to get that new Wassa album in the mail. I pre-ordered it today. Oh my gosh, this is the best thing. Guys, I want to be friends with you. I want us to be friends. But you are really hurting me. Like, I can't shadow block K-pop on my timeline because then I would have no timeline. Or it would just be all boys love. But like every album that I'm telling myself I'm not going to buy, everyone on my timeline is like, just ordered it today! It's coming in the mail! And I'm like, this is the reason why people move away when they give up drugs. Like this literally is it. Like people who have drug issues, they leave home because just walking the streets is too tempting because they know where all the dealers are and they know how to get a hold of the product. Like the internet is right here. It doesn't take me any time to get these thumbs to tell me where to buy these things. It's so tempting. It's so tempting. And oh my gosh, let's go through what it feels like to take that hit. Let's talk about it. You've been working all day long and people are fucking with you at work and you're kind of upset and you're driving home and you've been listening to music and you're just like, oh, when I get home, I'm going to have to do laundry and maybe I'm going to have to do the dishes. I know I got to cook. What am I going to cook tonight? You hit your front door. There's a box sitting outside your front door. You take it inside. You take your little box cutter. Cut open that box. You look inside. The box is big, the items are small. You're not sure why they use such a big box for such small items. But anyway, we digress. Take out that little bundle wrapped in bubble wrap, and you unwrap those layers, and they're just stacked on top of each other, and they're right there, and the cellophane is shining because the light's just bouncing off of it. And you just start to take your box cutter off the top, or you run it along a seam where it won't make any damage, and you just peel that cellophane off. And if it's got a sticker, you cut around the sticker and you stick that inside the album, because you got to save that. That sticker's important. And you open it up and you put your hand on top of the photo book, because this is a box, right? Put your hand on top of the photo book and you flip it over, so all the stuff that's loose inside of it you have in your hand, and then you put it away. You don't even look at the CD. The CD doesn't count. And you start looking, and you look at the pages, and then you go and you look and see, what did I get for a photo card? Ooh, what number is this? And you look at the things and you're like, oh my gosh, this is so pretty. And for that 15 minutes, maybe 15 minutes, you're like, this is one of the best sensations of all time. This is amazing. This is so lovely. As quick as that goes, that's it. That's it. On to the next one. On to the next one. Sometimes you get a high very similar, and you go to your bookshelf and you put it with your bookshelf, and then you see them all lined up, and you're like, this is nice. This is nice. I like this. You know what? Maybe I'll move this one over here because the color scheme. Yeah, that looks much better. And then it's gone. And you would think that because that momentary high of getting it was really all you got, that, oh, well, then it would be easy just to turn around and sell all your shit after you got it. Like, you just sell it and keep getting your money back. And, you know, yeah, you lose a little money over time, but you can support yourself in getting more and more things. But then there's YouTube. And with YouTube, guys, I'm going to do a collection video, and I'm going to show you my entire SHINee collection. I'm going to show you my entire BTS collection. I'm going to show you my entire Sistar collection. You look at your shelf, oh look, I got all of them. And it's not the same high as that opening of the album, but it is very much a satisfaction of, I did that. I accomplished that. I met that goal. I have that. That's me. I'm a collector. And when you're selling stuff, you sometimes will look at the thing and be like, do I really want to sell that? Am I sure I don't want to hold on to that? Am I a fake fan because I bought this and I don't want it anymore? Like, the psychological hurdles you go through in this thing, it's a lot. And I realize that for some of you listening to me tell this story, this doesn't relate to you at all. You cannot even imagine these feelings because you're not like that about possessions. And I get that. I get that completely. It is a personality thing. Like, there's a part of my personality that very much suits being a K-pop collector. And it's something I've known about since I was a little kid. When I was a little kid, I wanted all the Babysitter's Club books. When I was a little kid, I wanted all of the shoes for my gem doll. I would line up my perfume bottles on top of my dresser so I could see them all together. Like, definitely, I was somebody who I like seeing things in a row. I like seeing everything together. I like to have stuff match. Like, I was that kid. And so being a grown-up and collecting K-pop and me being able to buy whatever I want and not wait for somebody else to buy it for me, Pandora's box, can of worms, absolutely the abyss. And so, yeah, that's where I'm at. And everybody has their own hurdles. We all have different things that are the banes of our existence. For some of us, it's food. For some of us, it's collecting. For some of us, it is really fucked up relationships that we enter into voluntarily. Whatever it happens to be, We all have our vices. We all have our thing that's kind of out of our hands, or that thing that we find very hard to control in our life. And for me, K-pop collecting had gotten to a point where it was uncontrollable. And I've used every technique from every therapy video I've ever watched, because therapy is expensive, can't afford. I've used every single affirmation to get myself to a place where I don't feel like I need to have everything. And you guys have no idea. But when I first started collecting, I was spending maybe $40 a month. When I was at my highest level of collecting, I was spending around $250 a month on K-pop. Not $250 a year, $250 a month on K-pop. Think about that for a minute. I was practically paying a car note for K-pop. I didn't do that for a very long time, but I did it for enough months to where I realized it was a problem. And it wasn't just $250 a month on CDs. It would be, oh, I bought 2 CDs, 2 photo books, a merch item, and maybe a couple of light sticks I've been wanting to collect. Maybe a couple of photo cards to complete this section of my photo card collection for Minho. Maybe a postcard. Doing that for 4 months is $1,000. I literally have thousands of dollars in K-pop over there. And this, again, this is not me trying to brag. This is not a flex. If anything, this is a cautionary tale, because I do think about, what could I have done with that money? Is there anything that I deprived my child of having because I was doing something that gave me momentary validation? So, yeah, it is really, really tough, because on the one hand, I work for my money. I don't steal it from anybody. I don't have anybody else who pays my bills. This is all me. So I can do what I want with my money. But there have been times where I've needed things, and I've had to maybe borrow some money from my mom until my next paycheck to do something. And then something will arrive in the mail the very next day. And I'll look at that and I'll think, if I hadn't bought this 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, I might would have that money to spend on this thing that I had to pay for. Like, that's happened to me with tires. I don't know why. It just always seems like it's something with a fucking car. So, like, that happened to me with tires one time. I got 2 flats in one day. What the fuck? And I ended up having to borrow some money from my mom to buy new tires. And I paid her back really, really quickly. But yeah, I bought new tires, and then something came in the mail like a couple days later. And I'm like, oh shit. It wasn't enough to buy new tires, but still, it was just like, I could have saved this money. And every single album represents that. So if I'm looking at a cubby hole, which I'm looking at right now, and I can tell that cubby hole has 40 albums in it. If every single one of those albums was $10, that's $400. That could be a car note plus insurance. That could be a portion of a rent. That could be getting a cavity filled. And yeah, it's tough. It's tough because when you are looking at an expense coming up and you're budgeting, sometimes you'll look over at that shelf and you'll think to yourself, I should just sell everything on that shelf. But then you're like, oh, but I completed that collection and I don't really want to get rid of it. I'm telling you, man, it's a trap. It is a trap. Recently, and when I say recently, I mean like maybe in the last 3 to 4 days. Recently, I've been kind of trying to dip my toes into looking at other YouTubers that do K-pop collecting, just to see like what they do with their shelves, what they're collecting, what the trends are, like who are the really popular collectors. I mean, obviously anybody who's collecting for BTS, Blackpink, Red Velvet, Twice, those are really popular collectors right now. Like all the big groups, the people who collect like all the merch for big groups, they tend to be like the biggest draws in terms of audience and views. Also people who do like these really crazy hauls where it's like, I bought 101 albums. And what they don't tell you is that like they bought this 101 albums over several months and they saved up all the clips so it looked like it was like one big haul, or maybe they only buy albums once a year and they bought like 100 albums at once because they're only getting it once a year. Things like that. Anyway, I digress. So I was watching these videos and, you know, just like popping in and out. Like I wasn't watching whole videos. I'd watch maybe a minute or two and then flip on to the next. As I was doing that, I noticed Tina Davidson come on, and it was one of her videos. She's like, haul of 200 albums. Like seriously, she totally did that. Like, and I'll tell you how she did it in case you don't follow Tina, which I don't know why you don't. You should, but Tina, she sometimes will buy a bunch of albums from HMV in Japan. So HMV is kind of like a so many of the stores that are like HMV have gone out of business now. So HMV is kind of like it's kind of like a Blockbuster. No, Hastings, FYE. Basically, it's a store that sells music and books and like lighter. It's like Barnes and Nobles. There you go. It's like Barnes and Nobles, except for they do sell used items there as well, right? And so she buys albums from HMV, but the stuff that she buys from HMV are used albums, and she'll buy like a used Super Junior album for like $3 on HMV. So if she buys 200 albums, it's not like she's buying 200 $30 albums. She's buying 200 albums whose prices range from $3 to $10. And so it's still a good chunk of money, but it's not the kind of money that you would think of if somebody said, I bought 200 albums from Choice Music. So it's relative. Anyway, I saw her come up in the list. And so I was like, let me look at her channel real quick. And I realized it's been 2 months since Tina has posted anything. Have you guys noticed that? It's been 2 months since Tina has posted anything on her channel. I went to her Instagram to see if maybe she had announced that she was going on vacation or anything else. Her Instagram doesn't really talk about it either. I hope that Tina's okay. I don't have any reason to believe that anything is wrong with Tina, but yeah, I hope that she's all right. I hope that she's happy, but I wonder, like, is she reevaluating things as well? Is she reconsidering? I mean, I'm not going to make any presumptions because like I said, according to her social media, there has been no announcement about anything. Nothing seems to be amiss. Everything seems to be business as usual. She's actually posted a couple of things on her Instagram since the last time she posted about K-pop on her Instagram, since the last time she posted a video on her channel. But it got me thinking, if I was Tina Davidson and I was known for having the largest K-pop music collection on YouTube, which she is known for. She does like these once a year K-pop collection videos that are sometimes like an hour plus long because she has literally thousands of CDs. If I was Tina Davidson and one day I just decided I have no interest in collecting K-pop anymore, what would that mean? What would I say to people? How would I go about that? Would I just stay off social media forever and start over? I don't know. I don't know. And you know, for me, I remember when I made the decision to quit collecting as often, and I remember how like my channel started to change. It was a gradual change, but a lot of that change was only possible because my videos less and less became about look what I got before anybody else, or look what I got, this whole bunch of stuff, and they became a lot more about my personality. But even though Tina's personality is very much a part of her videos, her collection is a personality in and of itself. Like, people go to see her unboxings because she's kind of like the K-pop Wikipedia. If you want to know what the first after school album will look like front to back, cover to cover, you go to her channel because she's probably got it. If you if you were to look at second gen, she probably has virtually every single major K-pop release that second gen put out when second gen was at the top. Like, that's the collection she has. And so if she decided, I'm not collecting anymore, that's just not my life, that's not what I do, would she even have a channel anymore? Seriously, would she have a channel? And that's got to be scary for her, to be known for that. And then if that just wasn't your interest anymore, if you just, I'm done, I've gotten everything I want to get, I'm done. Will people tune in to watch your travel vlogs? Will they tune in to watch other stuff? I don't know. And again, like I said, this is all presumption. This is not anchored in any kind of fact for her. I have no intel saying that these are things she's considering. I'm just saying, if I put myself in her shoes and I decided to stop, how would I feel? And then, like, to begin the monumental task of paring down a collection that size. Because if you've watched her videos for any amount of time and you look at the literal walls of bookshelves she has for the music that she has, she doesn't even arrange them by group. She arranges them by color. Like, when you see her shelf tours, you talk about shelf envy, her shelves are arranged by color. And graded color at that. So it's like dark pinks to light pinks to baby pinks to whites to baby blues to darker blues to navies to blacks to, I mean, it is something else. It is something else. But I mean, there's a ton of factors as to why she could decide that she's just not, collecting anymore. And it's not even just like, I'm bored with K-pop, I don't collect new stuff. It could also be the fact that it has become sky high to be Tina Davidson. Like, the amount of money she was spending early on in her collection was nothing compared to what she was having to spend recently, because they put those exorbitant import taxes on all the K-pop stuff. And she was saying, like, sometimes she was paying twice as much for stuff than she normally would because of the import taxes. So she would buy an album for $20 plus $40 shipping, and then go to the office to pick up her stuff and get an import tax of $20. So now you've got a CD that maybe already is costing you $40, now costs you $60. So it was tough. She was facing a lot of adversity in that manner. And, I don't blame her if it just became too much. That's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure. When you build your reputation on something and then that something becomes really difficult to maintain, I get it. I absolutely get it. Which leads me to thoughts of my own. Like, if I didn't talk about K-pop on this channel ever again, I wonder how many people would unsubscribe. Like, if I just was to have a video and be like, hey guys, it's me, Shahal360, and I'm just on here to let you guys know that I have given up K-pop completely, and I just want to talk about, social news, and I want to talk about, hair, and I want to talk about the beauty community. How many people would actually still be on board? Like, not for nothing, even though I don't do collection stuff on my channel as much as I used to, I still talk about a fair amount of K-pop. I do. I talk about a lot of K-pop still. I talk about news in K-pop, I talk about releases in K-pop, I talk about shows. I really still talk a lot about K-pop, even though unboxing is not really a thing we do in this household. So, yeah. I don't know what my channel would be without K-pop, and I don't know how many people would still want to watch if I wasn't talking about K-pop. But, I've given up a lot to kind of be a person who follows K-pop as well. I was listening to a video by Mick the Snare. Is it Mike the Snare or Mick the Snare? I think it's Mike the Snare. You may have heard of his channel. I don't know. But I was watching a video by him, and he was talking about music. He was talking about, like, the progress of music over the 2000s. It's a fairly popular video. It's got, like, over 500,000 views. But he was talking about music in the 2000s and about musical patterns and stuff. I'll send the video to Mason. He might enjoy watching it as well. But he said something in the video that really struck me. And when I heard it, I'm like, oh shit, you are getting old, girl. He said that there was like a study that people stop looking for new music after they turn 30. And when I heard that, I felt like somebody had done this to me. I felt like somebody had thumped me between my eyes. Because I was thinking to myself, I have not connected with American / Western music in so long. And you guys don't know this because I talk about it infrequently. But before I collected K-pop, I collected music. K-pop is not the first time I've ever collected music. I had close to 200 CDs of just like Western artists before I ever set foot in K-pop's direction. And I used to listen to so much stuff. I used to listen to a lot of neo soul. I loved a lot of pop music. I loved boy bands, NSYNC for life. But I listened to a lot of music. But more than that, I was extremely musically infested. Like, I listened to a lot of different styles, and I had a lot of little niche favorites and stuff. And, you know, I followed a lot of different people's careers and record labels and stuff like that. And I was a huge stan of Pharrell and the Neptunes and everything that they did. And I used to make binders full of mixed CDs where I would just have like songs from all of one artist, like my favorite songs and stuff like that. Like, I was really into music. And I was watching his video about, like, you know, the evolution of music throughout the 2010s. And as I was watching it, as it got towards like the middle and later parts of the 2010s, I was hearing music I had never heard a day in my life. Never heard. And it was like mainstream music that a lot of people had heard. I had never heard. One of the songs that he played was the song Stoner by Young Thug. And I don't know how many people watching this have ever heard that song. Leave a note in the chat. Never heard it a day in my life. This was one of the songs that he mentioned as changing the course of hip hop music. What? Really? What? Really? Yeah, no idea. No idea. No idea. No idea. And then, as he was talking about more stuff, I'm like, okay, I've heard that. Okay, I've heard that. Okay, I've heard that. But then there was like littler stuff that I'm like, no, I don't know that. Oh my God, I don't know that either. And I like, towards the end, I was just like, wow. I left popular music in 2015. 2015 was like the last year I really listened to music in America. And I was devastated. I was devastated because, you know, number one, I hate to be that far off culturally. I hate to acknowledge that I've gotten old. But even more than that, one of the things that I used to really pride myself on is that I was excellent at karaoke. I knew a lot of lyrics to a lot of songs. Like, I can pretty much go through the majority of the Motown hits and know most of the words to all the songs. Like, I was a font when it came to songs and song lyrics. I listen to mostly K-pop now. I don't sing along with K-pop because I don't speak Korean. So like when the random English word pops up, I might sing that, but I don't sing along to music anymore. And I lost that, not keeping up with Western music. And I hate that for me because there's so much good music out there. Like, the only person I really sing along to that's like a recent artist is I sing along to Ariana Grande, and that's it. And I don't even sing along to her new stuff. I sing along to her old stuff because her new stuff has too many lyrics for me. But yeah, like I've lost it, and you know, I don't even know where to start to get it back. Cause I watched his best albums of 2019, and there were some names on there and some styles on there that I was like, yeah, no, it's too late for me, friend. Go on without me. Go on without me. There was this one group called I think it's called Waves Flood. And I was just like, no, never heard of. But he was saying that like their album Titanic Rising was the best album of 2019. Never heard of. He was talking about Vampire Weekend. Stephanie listens to them. I have never. He was talking about the best albums in his opinion of the 2000 teens. Just the last 10 years. Best albums of the last 10 years. More than half of them I had never heard. Stephanie, I know she listens to some of them. Like he had Sufjan Stevens on there. I know Stephanie's a huge fan. He had, I feel so ashamed to admit this, but I'm just going to admit this now because this is a safe space. I'm allowed to say this. His number one album of the 2000s was Kendrick Lamar's To Pimp a Butterfly. I've heard amazing things about this album. I like Kendrick Lamar's singles. I have never listened to that album. I listened to Good Kid, Mad City, front to back. I have never listened to Pimp a Butterfly, and I have never listened through the entirety of Damn. And considering my history with music and the fact that I was a huge fan of Outkast, and I was a huge fan of Snoop Dogg, and I was a huge fan of all these other R&B and rap artists when I was in college and kind of out of college, I feel really ashamed that some of the most important rap albums released in the last 10 years have not listened to front to back. And so, yeah, like I just totally became K-pop, you know. I'm not one of those people who's daft enough or stupid enough to be like, this K-pop rapper is better than any rapper on the planet. No, that's not me. I'm never going to say that. But I mean, I used to think that I was a person who could give a valid critique of style and influence and stuff like that. And now, no, I'm not. I don't know anything about music anymore. I know what I like in K-pop, but I actually don't know anything about music as it stands, as what the world listens to. And, you know, you guys have been really kind to me. Like, sometimes I'll get on these lives and I'll be like, this is the kind of music that SM needs to be doing, and this is the kind of music this artist needs to be doing. Yeah, you guys are really kind because all my references are washed. I'm not listening to new stuff to really give real and insightful critiques. And yeah, I'm going to try to spend some more time this year and next year really listening to some music. Like, I've listened to a couple of things. Like, I listened to the entirety of the new Dua Lipa album. I tried to get through Chromatica, but it just didn't work out for me. I have listened to the entirety of The Weeknd's new project, and I'm going to find some more things to listen to. But yeah, man, music is something I love. Music is something I really and truly love. I'm not a person who just discovered music last year. I'm a person who's been listening to music all my life. Growing up in my household, my dad had old LPs from the 70s that I would put on the turntable and listen to. I have loved music my entire life. When I was a really lonely teenager who felt bad because I was one of the only black girls in a majority Latinx community, and I was fat and I was awkward and I was kind of a smart ass and, you know, just really not the kind of kid that does well in a high school environment. The only thing I had was music. I would watch MTV all day long, and when MTV wasn't showing videos, I would watch VH1 all day long, back when they were music channels. And I would listen to the radio in my room, and I'd have the radio on in the background while I did my homework. And as corny as this sounds, and trust me, this is super corny, I was the kind of girl who would sit in the window in her room and would sing songs while looking at the moon. That was me. Music was the only companion I had when I felt like I couldn't trust people. When I felt like every person that encountered me judged me based on my appearance or based on how I was different than everybody else. You know, trying to date when I was younger and not being considered the kind of girl that guys thought was attractive, or guys only wanting to get with you because they thought you'd be easy because you're a loser. And music was everything to me because it helped me to vocalize the things that I didn't, that the words weren't enough for. It wasn't even that I didn't have the words, it's that it was more than needing the words. What I needed was the emotion behind it. I needed the swells of the strings, and I needed the percussion to really hit, and I needed all those things because the emotion I had that I needed to express was more than just saying I'm sad or I feel bad. I needed to say that I feel bad. I needed that. And the fact that in the time that I've spent collecting K-pop, that I have lost that, I'm ashamed and I'm sad, and I don't know. I feel like I lost sight of myself. I really feel like I lost sight of myself. But I'm going to try to get it back. I'm going to try to get it back. And I'm going to try to get it back in real ways. I'm going to start listening to more new stuff, and I'm going to start really opening my eyes and my ears and trying to do something different, because 2020, I feel like, has taken so much from so many of us. And I think if we don't do anything else with this time, with everything we've learned from just the bizarreness that is COVID and the time that we've had while trapped in our houses, to really rethink our world and what we want to see once we're allowed to get back out in these streets, now's the time for reevaluation, and now's the time for self, and really going and determining, like, what am I going to do now? What am I going to do moving forward? I actually have heard a couple of songs from Rena's new album. But yeah, now's the time to, like, just really focus on, like, what do I want my life to be? How am I going to continue to do things? Like, how am I going to make these changes? Am I going to keep living like this? And that's what I plan to do. I plan to start living different. I'm really very serious about reclaiming my musical interest. Even if it gets uncomfortable at times, I am absolutely focused in that direction. And that might mean that I'm going to have to let go of some K-pop things in order to do that. But I'm totally on that wave now. I'm totally on that wave now. And so, I'm starting to make little lists of things I need to check out. And, I listened to a couple of things today. I had never listened to Frank Ocean's Blonde album. I'm still not exactly sure how you're supposed to spell blonde, because when you look it up on the streaming service, it's blonde with an E, but then when you look at the cover, it's blonde with no E. So, confusion. But I'm going to start listening to music. That is my goal. For 2020, I want to start listening to music. I want to start having some new faves. I want to start learning the words to some songs. I want to reclaim music because I know what it did for me. I know how it carried me when I felt like nothing else could carry me. I know how sometimes singing songs kept me from crying when all I wanted to do was cry. And, I could use a little relief like that now. Oh my gosh, listen to me. Oh my gosh, you guys. I told myself I was going to quit doing these, like, kind of more revelatory videos, because I don't think y'all need to hear all that, but here we are. Here we are. I still have been debating with myself whether or not I want to tell you guys my history as a girl in America. That I'm still debating about, because on the one hand, it is cathartic to me to tell those stories, but at the same time, I'm like, people really share too much on the internet sometimes, and maybe there are some things I just really need to keep to myself. But I thought about telling that tale. But today, again, what started out as a lighthearted conversation has all of a sudden become, let me tell you about my teenage angst if I can. Let me tell you about my inner feelings. Let me tell you about my K-pop addiction issues. That's not where I meant to be tonight. That's not at all where I meant to be tonight. So, before I leave you guys, I have a couple of like housekeeping items to check off my list. First, if you haven't subscribed to Mason's channel, you have to if you want to see our Boys Love content. Also, he is coming here. Mason's coming here. I mentioned that early on in the podcast, but let me mention it again. Mason's coming here. He's coming to where I live. He's coming here. And so what I would like you to do in the comment section, not in the chat, in the comment section, if you could please, leave us suggestions of video ideas for us. I mean, we're not doing anything with heavy editing. We're literally turning on a camera, filming, and then turning it off. But if there's some things that you would like to see me and Mason discuss on camera, since we're going to be together, or something that you think would be neat for us to do on camera since we're going to be together, I would love to hear your suggestion. Also, if you are actually interested in Boys Love and you're not just subscribing to Mason so you can see our beautiful faces, we're going to be critiquing Love by Chance. It's not going to air this weekend because Mason will be with me, so we won't be, broadcasting, but it'll probably go live on his channel after he goes back. And so if you've never watched Love by Chance and you would like to watch a Boys Love series for the first time, I highly recommend that you watch Love by Chance and then watch our review of Love by Chance. We haven't filmed it yet, obviously. I mean, he's not here. But when we do film it, I think it's going to be a good conversation. I've been rewatching Love by Chance to get ready for our conversation, and I gotta say, it's still pretty magical to me. I feel really bad saying that because there's so much wrong. There's a lot of things wrong. But I still kind of feel the chills of a great chemistry. And so I have really been enjoying this rewatch. It's been great. But yeah, I can't wait to talk to Mason about it and have you guys kind of sit in like a fly on the wall at our conversation and just, you know what I mean? I think that you should join in. But yes, those are my 2 items of housekeeping for moving forward. I need you guys to give us ideas of what you'd like to see us film together. This is a box cutter. I'm not going to shank anybody. I just find it to be very soothing to do this number with the box cutter. But yeah, give us ideas of what you'd like to see us film when we're together. And then also, like I said, subscribe to Mason's channel because we'll probably be doing a couple of things and then he'll put them on his channel when he gets back to LA. And then, of course, we're going to have our discussion of Love by Chance because it's great. It's so great. It's problematic as shit, but it's great. So anyway, thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate you, and take care of your mental health. I filmed a quick therapy bite, but I haven't uploaded it yet. But I filmed one in the car today about selfishness and why you should be selfish. And I'm not really too pleased with the conversation because I feel like I was a little bit scatterbrained, but at the same time, it's still like a 3.5-minute video, so I'm probably going to post it anyway. But yeah, I have not stopped filming my therapy bites. It's just been some gaps in between because work has been killing me lately. So thank you guys again. Appreciate you. Bye.